Life is going to knock you on your ass. How long do you want to stay there? Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. Today's topic is, did you forget? You know, I had a lot of reminders today to remind me of how I should not forget about the journey I've been in my marriage, the journey I've been in my business, the journey I've been on connecting with my daughters and fighting for what I have today. Literally fighting every day for what I have today. And I had an opportunity this weekend to take my daughters to two different colleges for their volleyball camps, these universities, right? My 10-year-old was so excited. This is the first time she was going to stay at a camp. And she was literally going to stay in these dorms, just like college girls, right? So she got to experience that as a 10-year-old. And I pick her up today. And she was there for 3 nights, and she's going to be there for 3 nights. And every day she's checking in with us and just so elated, so excited about not only volleyball, but about the campus. And that morning as well, we were out in ASU, dropping off my eldest daughter at the Arizona State University. Beautiful campus. She's there, excited as well, making new friends. And I start thinking about how none of that would have been possible, right? Me being involved so much, and who knows what path we would have taken if Carla and I did not fight for what we wanted. And it saddened me in a way because, you know, any great achievement is because we made a lot of sacrifices. It's because we decided to get up and fight. Everything you have, the income in your bank account, the money in your bank account, the status of your relationship is a culmination of fighting or conceding in retrospect. And, you know, I just had a lot of appreciation for what we decided to do because a few years ago, right? I remember December 2013, we hit rock bottom as far as our relationship went. It was like a mutual agreement that we just couldn't keep this together. It was too much. It was too much history. It was too many bad memories, too much resentment, right? And almost, we just wanted more. And it was almost like entitlement. Too much entitlement, I think, was the big factor. We felt like the other person owed us for all the sacrifices that we made personally, that we made a conscious effort or a conscious decision to make. And now we felt entitled, like the other person owed us something. And it was rough. Later on, January 2014, I'm walking out of my car here at the office, Arrowhead office, after giving up close to 70 to 75% of my income, going from a realtor to now trying to grow this brokerage. It was an immense sacrifice, and it put a lot of financial pressure, and that's why Carla and I were also not in a good spot, because we've been through this position before, where money was hard, money was not as fruitful as it was. We experienced that before, and here we are doing it again as I decide to go and grow this brokerage, giving up 75% of my income. Understand that the money I was making as a realtor was a fraction, or it was much greater, I should say, than I was making as a broker. And I was heavily vested. The energy and the time and the effort that it took to grow this was tough, and it didn't pay out very well. I could have done 1/8 of what I was doing here for the brokerage back into my real estate career and made so much more money. And I was for years. And I remember walking to the office and I stopped in the middle of the parking lot. I had forgotten why I did this. I wanted out. I was prepared to shut this down. I walked right back into my car and I sat there for about 30 minutes. Just like, pondering what I should do. My marriage is not where it should be. We're trying to fight through it. This business is going south quickly. All my efforts, there's no fruit to my labor. There is no fruit in sight. It is a drought, and it's heavy. Bills are now piling up again. Something that I promised my family I would not put us into again. We faced this before. And we thought we put the right precautions to never face this again. But yet, here we are. As I'm following this voice of, you must grow this brokerage. And it made no sense. It made no financial sense. It put more burden and chaos within my marriage. So none of it made sense. I was more disconnected from my girls than I've ever been. None of it made sense. And the reason certain things don't make sense is because we forget. We forget why we even took those steps to begin with. Why we married our spouse. We forgot why we got into this business. And what a shame it would have been, right? To sacrifice all that. To undertake all that pressure, the heaviness, every day just to quit. And those were the thoughts. And if I didn't remember why, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be running as a group today. And I think we fail to realize how important it is to constantly remind ourselves why we even started. Why we even took on these pressures. Because there's a ton of other things we could do with a fraction of the pressure that it takes to run your own business. Many of us left jobs that we hated, that were draining us, that were bringing out the worst in us. And we have a few bad months here. And we start thinking, well, it wasn't that bad. Maybe I can go back. And what a shame, right? To face all that. To only go that far. And as I'm sitting in my car, and as I'm reflecting not only in my business and in my marriage, what a shame it would have been. It was then and there I decided to fight. It was then and there I decided to remind myself why I even started, why I even got married. Why I decided to go from an agent to a broker owner. My confidence was lost. And it was battered and bruised by the fights. My own internal fights within myself, the external fights with Carla, and the business. And as I'm in my lowest point, like it seems like comparison is all around you. Everyone is doing it much better, much greater. No one has the same issues or problems that I did. That was the thought process. Because I forgot. And it comes down to a decision. It comes down to having that conviction and truly fighting for what you want. And I sat there defeated, getting pulled by these thoughts that were becoming fact. You're not good enough. Your wife doesn't appreciate you. You can do other things. You can find someone else. And we allow these thoughts to pull us to a point we now find it as fact when it's all a fallacy. Based on a story that's untrue. And I stopped those thoughts. It took me a while. I was self-loathing. I was projecting. And it almost seems like this little, the good angel on my shoulder, right? Whispered in my ear, "Did you forget?" Forget what? The love you have for your wife. The love for your children. The love for your business. Your greater calling. Did you forget? The promise you made. That your job was to impact individuals. That your job was to love your wife and lead your family. And the pressures of life will make you forget. We're caught up in our own sad stories sometimes. Defeated by a contract that goes south. When we think about this, how minor that is. How insignificant one contract is. Or one bad client is. Or one deal that falls through is. In the greater scope of life. How insignificant. That it breaks us down. A small little failure. No one walks through your open house. It breaks you down. Now you start thinking, I got to go back. Forgetting how painful it was to work where you were previously at. The insignificance of these battles. But yet we emphasize and we magnify the issue. When really, it is no problem at all. But because our focus is there staring right out in our face, and it's like, it's the biggest issue. When all we really have to do is take a step back and realize, oh, damn. The problem's not as big as I thought. But at the moment we forget. And when we forget, it's because we lost the vision of why. Think about why you got into this business. Why you decided to take on this turmoil of the pressures of marketing, sales, systems. Constantly trying to fill your pipeline. Why? There's a reason. And if you don't keep that focus as to why, you will never have a clear plan of action. You will lose the focus. And it's going to reach a point where you'll be defeated by a simple contract. Where now, all of a sudden, we discredit everything we went through. We discredit all the sacrifices we made. Walking away from our careers, where 9 out of 10 of you did. Walk away from your careers to only come this far. All the excitement that we had. The reassurance that we were going to work our butts off every single day. Go by the wayside as we pretend, and I'm going to emphasize this, as you pretend not to know what to do and how to do it. What a shame to end a marriage that we both wanted. And I'm not saying all marriages are supposed to last, not at all. What a shame to stay in a marriage that you know you shouldn't be in. What a shame, right? To not fight for yourself. And that's all it comes down to. I had to fight for what I believed in. And I believed in myself. And although financially I wasn't in that place, I remember the fights that broke out where Carla was like saying, you have to go back out and sell real estate. The bills are piling up. We can't continue to go down this path. But I remembered why I did it. It was beyond me. It was a promise that I made. That I was going to make a bigger impact, not just to my own pockets, but to others' lives. I made that promise. When I was 17 years old, laying on my deathbed, almost bleeding out. I made that promise. But yet years after that, I fell short. It was all about self-gain. and selfishness. So much so that I was breaking up my family. I was out of integrity. And it's important that you start thinking about where you're at today and why you even got here. Have you said in your morning? Yep, it takes putting up a fight. 2013, I remember. Yesenia was there. And you had your fair share of fights, Yesenia, and you're still here. Because you remember. And it's funny, when you start appreciating the journey you've been through, all of you, these financial hardships, these pressures that we face in business are just a fraction of what you've already been through. These marital problems are just a fraction of what you've already been through. And you cannot forget the power you possess. But when the challenge is in front of us, that's the first thing that goes out the window. And it's remembering today not to forget the goals and ambitions you had. Not to forget the power you possess. And not to forget the journey you've been on. This is it. You have to declare it today. What is it that you truly want? And then fight for it. You cannot let it go and pretend it's not an issue. You can't pretend that things are going to get better when you make no effort to make it better. You can't be oblivious. You got to fight for yourself first and foremost, and then decide what you want to do with the rest of the other aspects of your life. Then decide. But first is you, not in a selfish way, in a way that's going to empower you. Of why you got married, of why you're in the relationship, of why you're in this business, of what your role is as a parent. Legacy. A head start. This business will leave you battered and bruised. This business can create a lot of havoc, unhealthy habits. This business is tough. And for those of you that have been in the game 10, 15 years, congratulations to you. You're still in it. Now it's your job to create the lifestyle that can support it without you burning out or giving up on yourself. This is the game right here. I want you to declare it with conviction that this is the game. All in. Decide what you want. We got Armando on the call, Michelle, Teresa. What are you guys hearing in this? Wendy, good morning. Good morning, Yesenia. Good morning, Claudia. Yeah, Yesenia, I did not realize it was 75%. It was tough. It was so tough, you know. You understand, everybody that's in this business understands how profitable it is to be a realtor. I don't think there's any other industry that's as profitable as the industry you're in. And we have to be grateful for that. We have a potential of making a lot of money. And I was used to making that money. But it was all for self-gain. It really was. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say I was out there trying to change lives, because I wasn't. It was all selfish. And I had to give up a lot. And it was tough. And for those of you, you probably felt the pressure I was under. Yesenia, you were there. Because the pressure that I was on myself, I also put it on Carla. And she wasn't in full power because she couldn't trust that I could make the right decisions. Because even though I had a voice calling me to do this, I was often weakened by my own thoughts. And as breadwinners, if we're weakened by our own thoughts, we don't have the confidence of our spouses. So they feel the pressure. because they know what really is going on. Madeline, it's hard to keep your eyes on the prize when there's different obstacles that are blocking that view. Last year from August, November, I had absolutely no escrows. I left one horrible deal distract me from 6 months of hustling. My mindset was, I'm not good enough for this business anymore because of the one bad escrow. Isn't it amazing how we're defined by that one bad transaction, one bad experience, and we disregard all the obstacles we have overcome, all the tragedies that we have overcome. We disregard it at that specific moment, and we define ourselves as, I am a failure. And I've been there many times. Not realizing that we had an amazing journey. You had an amazing journey. And we're just a small fraction. And in our industry, we're like, oh, everyone's a realtor. But we're still only a small fraction. We're those individuals that had the conviction enough to go all in. There's something special about us. Small business owners, entrepreneurs, sole proprietors. There's something special about us. And although the grand majority of the population would love to do what we're doing, only a small fraction, which is you and I, decided to go all in with it and face the pressures that follow suit. And they don't only impact our financial situation. It goes way beyond that. It impacts everything. The pressures that it even puts with our family and our marriage and our relationships. Far beyond that. It took me those 6 months and one $180,000 escrow to bring my fire back. And the 6 months is something we have control over. We never have control over. There's some things that we will never have control over. There's some obstacles we just can't see. There's a lot of it that we can't keep in bay, that we can keep at bay by doing the things that we know will grow us, that'll make us better. A lot of those financial problems we can keep at bay. A lot of the issues at home we can keep at bay, but there's sometimes things that rock us that are outside of our control. And the only thing we have control over is how long we decide to stay there, in that pit. That is the only thing we have control over. And that was a valuable lesson for you, Madeline. 6 months. You gave away half a year. Backing up that story that you're not good enough. And you made it a fact in your mind. Until one day you just got tired of it and decided to do something about it. And guess what? You're going to face that again. But this time, you're wiser. You're stronger. It's not going to take you 6 months. It may only take you 6 days, 6 hours, 6 minutes. But that's what we have control over. Life is going to knock you on your ass. How long do you want to stay there? Armando, that's why this is a badass brokerage, giving real life scenarios and showing how to overcome situations by positive mindset, hard work, and consistency, and fighting for what you truly want through the failures that we go through. It's a human life, right? It's a human journey. And I want you to start thinking about right now, it's like we still have 5.5 months to really create the best year you've ever had, to amend relationships, to get in better physical health, to start thinking more positively about yourself and appreciating yourself. I don't care where you're at in the scope of things, whether you're selling $3 million a year or 20, 40. We can't forget why we began. And it's taking that time to reflect. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery. And as a reminder, we can't forget the power we possess. We've been through too much. We've experienced too much. We dealt with our fair share of pain to just be like, fuck it. It's all in. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day.